What up, B Squad? It is your boy JB, and we are here today with a review for Married at First Sight, Season 16, Episode number 40. Guys, this episode is titled Honeymoon, Hiccups, you guys. So before we go ahead and get into the review, if you guys are watching this video or any other on the channel, and you guys aren't subscribed yet, do me a solid favor, and please stop taking me out on this date and having me pay for it at the end of it. You guys know you can do me that favor by liking the video, subscribing to my channel, turning on your post notifications, and sharing the video. And with that out of the way, without further ado, let's discuss Married at First Sight, shall we? All right, you guys, so this episode was a good one, I guess you could say, right? So this episode, it is day 2 of marriage. So this week, the newly married, the newlyweds are going to be meeting the family members of their, significant others, right? So we're going to run down the line of each couple and tell you guys how I feel about their meetups with the families. So I'm not going to go with the first couple that we saw on the screen because I want to save them for last. But let's go on and talk about Dominique with a Y and McKinley with the AC in his name. So I want one thing from the producers when it comes to Dominique and McKinley, and more specifically, Dominique. Can we please stop saying that Dominique is an old soul? Nothing about Dominique screams an old soul. Everything about Dominique screams party girl, wants to live her life and have fun, right? Nothing about Dominique screams old soul. My personal opinion, you guys can agree or disagree, but it is what it is, right? So we do see that with Dominique and McKinley, they are getting a lot of comfortable with each other, right? They're kissing each other, they're cuddling, so they say. I don't believe that they just cuddled, right? Because we see them as they went to the hotel room, right? She, took her dress off. He got ready for bed. They got under the covers. He told the producers it's time to go. Then we see them pull the covers over themselves, and they may have just, played around with each other. When I say playing around, I don't mean have sex. They may have just played, snuck kisses here and there, right? But they say they didn't have sex. I'm gonna choose to believe them. I choose to believe them for now, right? So we see as Dominique, I believe, not Dominique, McKinley. So McKinley met up with her mom, her grandmother, and I believe a sister or a cousin, right? And the conversation was really odd when it started out, right? So, they were asking him basically about, going through this process, why are you single? Because there are a lot of single women out there that will, are looking for men, right? I was like, okay, never mind, I'm gonna let that one go by the wayside, right? So then the next question that was asked was, has he ever dated, women of different ethnicities, right? More specifically, they want to know if he's ever dated a black woman. So he has dated a black woman, but he said it didn't work out. But he said he's primarily dated, Latina women as well as white women, right? He didn't really go into the specifics of why the relationships didn't work out with the black women, because I would love to know the answer to that question, Mr. McKinley. Why did those relationships not work out, right? So then, y'all might hear an ambulance going by, right? Oh, you guys, I put this in the wrong place. I know who this is dealing with. So then we see Dominique. So Dominique is meeting with his mother, his sister, and his best friend, right? So she was like, y'all told me that with him, he's very shy, but she's like, I haven't saw that yet. And I'm like, yeah, I haven't saw that either. The only thing that I think about with McKinley is that he just gives hobo. The man had no place to stay. He was staying with the best friend's mom and dad, and he just needs a place that he can call his own for just a little bit. My personal opinions. So his mama still feels the same way she felt previously about him signing up to do Married at First Sight, right? She thinks that this is crazy. And then Dominique decided to tell her, well, guess what? My mom signed me up for the show, and that's really where I get stumped at and stuck at when it comes to Dominique. Your mama signed you up for this show. Ma'am, your daughter is 25 years old. And again, I'm not saying in the sense that go out, sleep around with people, but your daughter is 25. You don't think that maybe she should wait until her 30s to figure out what she wants? Because at 25, I mean, any point in your life, you can say, oh, I don't want this, I don't want that, right? Because in your 20s, you might feel like you want to do so many things, but then by the time you get to your 30s, and you be like, what was, you think to yourself like, it's time for me to settle down on something, right? And that could be kids, marriage, being single, want to travel, work, whatever. I feel like the 20s, I feel like in your 20s, you should explore yourself, find out who you are, find out the things that you like, find out what you don't like before you tie yourself down to another person, because then you don't have that, my personal opinion, you don't have that flexibility. You don't have that flexibility. And with Dominique, she definitely won't have that flexibility, right? She's 25 years old. Her mother has signed her up for Married at First Sight, and her mother also wants grandchildren. So she's not going to have the flexibility. She's not going to have a lot of flexibility. Because I know when I was like, I'm going to give you guys just a little quick story, right? Like back when I was in college, I went to college fresh out of high school. And there were a lot of people that I was cool with when I was in college that were older than me, right? And, me and my friends, we wanted to just party. We wanted to do whatever we wanted to do, right? Which we did, but we also made time to go to class, right? But we had some older people in our classes, and they, and they would explain why they came back to school. They would be like, in my 20s, I had a family. I had to take care of my kids. I was a husband. I was a wife. So I didn't have time to do anything. So now I'm in my 40s or 50s or older than that, and I'm coming back to school to try to get an education. And a lot of the people that I met when I was in college said, get your education now, and have fun now, because once you get older, you start having children and get married, that kind of stops. Oh my God, my refrigerator just kicked on. Jesus. But yeah, that's why I say about her when it comes to the whole being young. So let's pause. Oh, no, that's not. So they also did ask Dominique about, what if, because McKinley's roots are in Michigan. So they were like, so what if he says he wants to move to Michigan? How would she feel about that? She said that would be a tough choice because her mom is, close to her. So it would be a difficult decision. And I hope that he wouldn't just up and say, let's go to Michigan. But, we'll see how that plays out. But let's pause here and move on to the next couple. All right, you guys, so the next couple is Jasmine and Eris. And once again, like I've been saying for the last few episodes, please don't know of this marriage. Like, I just don't see it for Jasmine and Eris. And more specifically, I don't see it for Eris. I just don't think Eris is ready for marriage. You can talk, I feel like with Eris, he talks a good game, but I just don't get that he is at that maturity level, even at 40 years old, that he wants to be married. I mean, like I said, you just literally slept with a woman 2 weeks before you found out you were going to get married. You had already applied for this process. So you knew that there was a possibility that the experts were going to find you a match. Experts. So, Jasmine is going to be meeting up with Eris's cousin, Fal, and another cousin and his mother. I'm like, why do we gotta keep seeing this hating ass woman? I promise you that cousin Fallon, Fallon, Felinia, whatever her name is, it gives incestuous cousins. It just gives that vibe because she just seems like she's very hard up and jealous. Because the producers asked her at one point, what do you think of his wife? Yeah, you said his wife. Well, what's so funny about that? I'm gonna get on her in just a minute. So Eris is gonna be meeting up with Jasmine's dad and her brother, and I believe that was her mom that was there, right? And it's a stark comparison because her family, when they met Eris, they were very warm. They were very receptive to him. He asked them, when it comes to her, is she organized or is it organized chaos? They said it just depends. Then they were talking about how she is when it comes to her cheering and all that kind of stuff. And like I said, with her family to him, very, very positive. So it's like night and day. But then when you put her with his raggedy cousins and his mama, like I said, the cousin Val, I really don't like her. She just, like I said, gives me that you want your cousin for yourself, right? I get being protective of your family. I'm very protective of my family, right? But I'm not gonna sit here and have a scowl on my face because my cousin got me. If I don't like the person, maybe, right? If it's somebody that I've never liked and I just don't see it for, I'm like, oh, I gotta suck it up because you married this person and you love the person for God knows what reasons, but you don't know this woman from a can of paint. So I don't understand why she's had these facial expressions on her face, right? And then the other thing is, you know that your cousin is a playboy and needs to go back to the streets, hits from the streets, that is, like hits from the streets needs to go back to the streets that he's been hitting. But you have this. It seems like vitriol for Jasmine because she asked Jasmine about a previous relationship, right? When was her last relationship? She said about 7 months ago. She says, "Oh, so it's fresh," and Jasmine was like, "Yeah, it is fresh, but you know how it is when you're in a relationship and you know that you come to the end of the relationship, you already checked out of the relationship, which is 100% true." And I don't know why they sit there and try to play Jasmine like she was just, oh, that's a very pageant answer. No, it's not a pageant answer. Most times, even when it comes to couples who are married and going in, and before they even separate, you can even if you're just dating somebody, just dating someone, you know when you are in a relationship with someone and you know that this relationship is not it for me, we are on two different pages, you know when that relationship is done. You check out of the relationship. Most times you check out of your relationship before you actually say, let's break up. Because emotionally, it probably starts to go emotionally and physically. Let's be real. Typically, sex stops. When you know that the relationship is done, you typically tend to stop having sex with that person. Then the emotional goes away. And then you just be like, what are we doing? And you end up just breaking up with each other. And I feel like that's what happened with Jasmine. And then the fact that the cousins keep coming at Jasmine, y'all asked Jasmine, has she ever lived with a man? She said she lived with her ex who she was with for 7 months, broke up with 7 months ago, right? But your cousin ain't never lived with a woman. So you need to be worried more about him and not her. And I just don't like that. And like I said, it just gives me jealousy. And it infuriates me because I just don't understand why this cousin is giving Jasmine all this fever and Jasmine ain't done nothing yet, right? That wasn't a pageant girl answer because she's trying to say that basically what she's trying to say is it's rehearsed. Okay, you don't know this woman, so you're just judging her based off of her profession, and that's wrong. I was just about to say something not so nice about that woman, but I'm gonna leave it alone. I'm gonna let it go. I just don't like the cousin. I really don't. And Eris wants them to be able to get along. I don't think that's gonna happen, bruh. Your cousin is coming off like a hater, and your cousin is coming off like a hater because it seems like she wants to be with you over Jasmine. Girl, if that's what you want, go on ahead and have it and move on. Move, leave, bye. So let's pause here and move forward, you guys, to the next. All right, you guys, so next up is Gina and Clint. I still don't see it for Gina and Clint. I still don't see it when it comes to Gina and Clint, right? So Gina feels like she can see a good future with those two. I'm like, do you really? Because I don't. I see a bunch of headache, arguing, bickering, and fights between these two. And then the thing with Clint is I just can't get past Clint's hair. Now I know I ain't shaved my head yet, but dang, Clint, your hair, it didn't even look like it just looked like Clint just woke up and just said, let me go on and get married. I don't even do nothing to my hair. So now didn't Clint say that sex wasn't that important to him, right? But in this episode, he's talking about how he would love to, he's okay with it. He wants to have sex with his wife, right? When Clint took his shirt off, all I could see was wolf man. I was like, oh my God, half man, half wolf. No. You know, when you look at Clint, if you guys look at Clint, tell me, do you guys see this with Clint? He looks like a mixture of Zach Galifianakis from The Hangover, and Chuck Norris. More so Chuck Norris. He definitely looks like Chuck Norris. I never, Lifetime, I don't think I need to see Clint half naked again. I think I'm good on that one. I think Gina might be good on that one as well, right? So Gina and Clint didn't have sex the night before as well. But Clint wanted to have sex, and I'm like, but didn't you, like, that's my thing when it comes to Clint and Eris. Clint and Eris, I feel like, are two contradictions of each other. They contradict things that they say. And it's just like you didn't want to have sex with her. Well, you weren't looking to have sex the first night, but you actually really did want to have sex the first night. And I'm so glad she didn't give him none. Thank God. Now, Gina. Gina. I like Gina a lot, right? But the one thing about Gina, and I think the one thing that might be an issue when it comes to Gina, is the fact that I don't know if Gina can necessarily separate her work life and her home life. I feel like they are intertwined, right? Because I know she's talking about the fact that she left her work phone at home, right? But you're still, in a sense, talking about work, Gina. So that's my thing when it comes to Gina. I just don't know that Gina can separate the two. I know she wants to, but can she really separate the two is going to be the ultimate test in this situation. Because again, I don't see them making it past decision day. I pray to God they don't. Jesus, I pray to God they don't make it past decision day, right? So Clint is meeting with her family, and like I say about Eris, I feel like when it comes to Clint, that Clint is literally just blowing smoke up her family's behind. I don't buy it. Now, Gina, once again, sis, like you, down. But I know you was lying when you told his family that you were attracted to Clint. Girl, a lie don't care who tell it. You were nowhere near attracted to that man. And especially when you saw that man's body. He doesn't have a bad body, but he just looks like a wolf man. Wolf man. And I was just like, Gina, I believe that that's the lie detector test determined that is a lie, sis. Just saying. That's a lie. That is a lie. That is a lie. A lie. A lie. But let's pause here and move over to the next couple, you guys. Nicole and Chris, you guys. So, I know I've said it plenty of times, and I will continue to say it. Despite the things that I might say about Nicole and Chris, I actually really genuinely like Nicole and Chris, and I think that if anybody is going to survive this season, it's going to be Nicole and Chris, because where I do have my fears when it comes to Nicole and Chris, my fears are not outweighed by the positive that I actually see with these two. They have great chemistry with each other. They are very similar. They're both motor mouths, and I would never want to be around them. No shade to either one of them. I would literally never want to be around either one of them. And that's no shade again. But what I do see when it comes to this couple is the fact that Chris is a super nice guy and a sweet person, right? And the thing that I worry about when it comes to Gina is because Nicole. Nicole, her personality, I feel like Nicole has the potential. I'm not saying this is going to happen, but I feel like when it comes to Nicole and Chris, that she has the potential to, he's so nice that if she does anything that he doesn't agree, if they have an argument or whatever, I feel like he's going to be the type that she's going to be able to just run all over him. That's what I get. I want you guys to let me know what you think, but that's what I get, right? So they talk about, she asked him, how does he feel about, sharing food with your spouse? Ew. I'm sorry, I don't want to share food with nobody. My food is my food. Now, if we cook as a family, that's sharing food. But something that's on my plate, like if we go out to a restaurant and I order something and then you order whatever you order, please don't ask me, what else can you say? If you say, can you taste it? Taste it. Not really what I want. I'm not gonna taste your food because I'm a very, very picky eater. I am particular about what I eat and what I don't eat, right? So he told her that he's a person that's pretty much on time. So he asked her about herself and she said, not really. So that might be their first fight, right? So then so he's meeting with Nicole's family, and I do get Nicole's dad's reservations and him being apprehensive about this process, right? Absolutely, I understand it, but you got to roll with the punches, sir. At this point, like, they're married. You can have, and he said Chris is a nice guy, right? But they've also said that they also said about serial killers, they were nice people, right? And I get that. And I know her dad has reservations, but like I said a few minutes ago, I have more reservations when it comes to Nicole than I do when it comes to Chris, because of Chris, what they said about, what Chris told us about his past. I just have more reservations about Chris. Not Chris. I have more about Nicole, because I just feel like I said earlier, I feel like when it comes to Chris, that he is so kind and sweet. And I feel like probably what's happened with him in his past is women have ran over him because of that. They probably view him as a doormat and just say, oh, he ain't gonna forget Chris, and do whatever they want to do, right? I don't want that for him and Nicole. I actually think that they are a perfect match. I hope I've heard the spoilers that they are. I've heard the spoilers. I've heard the spoilers about these two. So they found out where they're going for the honeymoon, right? They go on the honeymoon. I'll talk about where they went for the honeymoon when I talk about the last couple. So Chris was the one thing that I do like about Chris is, I have a feeling now, if Chris said that he's been to therapy and he's done the work, I would believe Chris, because Chris is doing a lot of things right with this situation so far, right? Because when they got to the honeymoon, he was telling Nicole how in a previous relationship, it sounded like the girl that he was in a relationship with wasn't really interested in him, didn't really like him. Sounded like she berated him and talked down to him, right? So, and Nicole is holding his hand. So Nicole tells him that she has vacation anxiety. So she went deeper. He's like, what do you mean? So Nicole feels like, when you go on a vacation with people, you're really close to them, right? And you're with them for some days. So they may start to see traits in you that they don't necessarily like, right? When it comes to Nicole and Chris, I don't think that that's going to happen. It could, but I don't think so. The only trait that y'all have that is annoying is this. I don't think that they would ever get a word. I don't know how they can ever get a word in edgewise when they both have, they both are very talkative, right? So then she also told him a story about her ex, very abusive relationship. You know what we're going to say to that person who was with Nicole, who was a complete asshole that burned her with a cigarette? Rot in the pits of hell, sir. Because you are a disgusting human being. That is deplorable, disgusting, and low as hell. If you don't like the girl, don't do things like, if you don't like people, that's my thing when it comes to relationships. If you know that you're not interested in the person anymore, if you don't like them anymore, don't go to that point where you talk down to them, berate them, demean them, abuse them physically, emotionally, and mentally. Don't do that. Just get your ish and walk out the door and move on with your life, and let her do the same thing, him or her do the same exact thing. Like, it's horrible, right? Horrible, horrible, horrible. But Nicole, you are a beautiful young lady. You deserve so much better than that piece of SHIT. That's the nicest way I'm gonna say it without cursing. But let's pause here, you guys, and talk about the last couple. All right, you guys, so the last couple is Kirsten and Shaquille. So I do want to let you guys know that the honeymoon they're gonna be in Jamaica. So, Kirsten, I truly don't like this woman, because I don't like her. I don't like Kirsten. I said it last week, and I'm standing firm in the fact that I just don't like her, because she's superficial. Let's just be number one. She's superficial as hell. So you can clearly tell that she's not into him, right? She's superficial and she's a contradiction. So Kirsten and him went back to the room. He undid, she was sitting in his lap. So remember, last week she said she had an issue with the fact that he didn't ask her to kiss her, right? That's why she gave him her cheek, which was a lie because you told your friends and your family, if you weren't interested in him like that, you was gonna give him your cheek. So this week he asked you, can he kiss you? You paused. He caught that hesitation. He caught the hesitation with you and he asked you what's wrong. You ignored this man, like you curving him, right? So then the next morning, she said that she felt super comfortable with him. Like it was like he wasn't even a stranger, but you feel super comfortable with him, but you won't let him kiss you. Now, granted, you don't have to let him kiss you, but you contradicted yourself, right? Because you said you wanted him to ask permission. He asked permission, you still curve him. It's a contradiction, right? So, and the craziest thing about Kirsten and Shaquille is the fact that they have a lot of like they have so many similarities with each other, right? Because he talked about how, I'm getting ahead of myself, but he talked about how, he's been a strong black man for his family and he didn't tell them when he was going through a dark period, right? And she says that she's the same way, so they got to work on that with each other. And I'm like, see, you got to get past the outwardly appearance. And again, like I've said about Shaquille, there's nothing wrong about him physically. He has a scar. He explained to you what the scar is. Other than that, he's a handsome guy. So I don't know what the issue is, right? So Kirsten met up with his family, right? His uncle and his friend, right? And, she was talking about the fact that, he was telling her how busy he is. So she was wondering, when would you really have time for me? And I'm like, okay. So is that strike three? Because, you're already on strike. He's on strike two. Strike one was the fact that he's bald. Strike two was he's younger than you. So is strike three the fact that you just don't know if he's going to have time for you, which is it is a valid question, right? I'm not going to sit here and pick at it and say that it's not a valid question because it is a valid question. Will you have time for me? Because you're getting your PhD. So that is a very, very valid question. So I'm not going to pick that apart. But I feel like with Kirsten, I feel like she will eventually, at some point, use that against him. Like, oh, you doing this and you doing that because it's going to come up in just a few minutes. So we see Shaquille. Shaquille is with her grilling family. They're grilling him once again. And here's my issue with her family, right? I get the fact that y'all don't know this man and you want to get to know him, right? But y'all keep asking him, what led him to do this? Why did you feel like this was the option for you? Ask Kirsten the same question. Like y'all are acting like this is an arranged marriage that he picked. Y'all acting like she knew that she wanted to get married and like I'm trying to figure out a situation where it's like it's one side. Y'all are acting like it's one sided where she is almost as if she didn't sign up for marriage at first sight. Like it's almost as if she didn't marry complete strangers. It's almost as if she got to see him in action and then she picked him to marry her instead of it being the experts picked him for her. And I'm not feeling like, just like I said about Eris's cousin, I'm not feeling her. I'm not feeling Kirsten's family and friends either because I get it. You want to protect your girl, but your girl also did the same exact thing that he did. She signed up for marriage at first sight. She agreed to marry someone that she had never met a day in her life, potentially, right? So y'all want to come at him hardcore, but come at her. Like, let the guard down. Like, I get you want to protect your friend. That is your friend, like my best friend. If my best friend would say, she's already married, but if she wasn't married and she said that, she came to me and said, Gerald, which is my first name, she said, I'm applying for marriage at first sight and I'm gonna get married. I would probably look at her and be like, girl, are you crazy? And I'm like, okay. Okay, I mean, you've already signed up for it? She'd be like, and she said, yes. They found you a match? Yep. We get married in 2 weeks. I'd be like, oh, 2 weeks. So I don't know this man that you're marrying. And I would tell, I would be like, I don't feel, I mean, if this is what you want to do, I love you and, I support you, right? But, and I would sit, and the thing is, if this were my best friend, I would sit down with the guy. I would be like, I would want to get to know him. I wouldn't even grill him like, why did you feel like this was the process for you? Because again, my best friend, she signed up for the same process. So I wouldn't ask him those questions. I'd be like, so, just tell me a little bit about you, what are your hobbies? What are you looking for in a wife? My best friend has a daughter, so she has a child. Are you open to being a stepfather? I would ask those kind of questions, but not grill this man about why did he do this? What led him to this point? I don't care about what led you to this point. I want to know that you are a good match for my best friend, my sister, my cousin, my whatever. I just want to know that you're a good match for them, right? So the reason why, I'm going back to what I said a few minutes ago because that was really it. So remember, I told you they're going to Jamaica, right? So all the couples are going to Jamaica first. All the couples are going with the exception of Kirsten and Shaquille because Shaquille has to go to Jackson, Mississippi, right, to give a research presentation. And he wanted her to come with him. And she was like, ugh. I'm like, see, this is going to be a problem coming up because I feel like she's going to use that against him. The fact that he's so busy. You're so busy. You're so busy. You don't have time for this. You don't have time for that. You're going to have to make this up to me. You're going to have to make this up to me. I don't like that lady. She's a beautiful woman on the outside, but the insides, I don't think that they match. Beautiful on the outside, but I just don't see it on the inside. But let me know what you guys thought about this episode of Married at First Sight in the comment section below, you guys. Subscribe to the channel, turn on your post notifications, share the video, you guys. And until the next time, be safe out there. Take care of yourselves. Wash your hands. Be blessed. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.